Today, I want to discuss the idea that your life is like a blank journal and the importance of not leaving it empty when you reach the end of your days. A life unlived is like a blank journal collecting dust on the shelf instead of actually being used for its purpose. So I think one important question that we need to ask ourselves is, are we actually filling our pages with what matters to us, with what makes us happy? I remember when I was in high school, I used to collect journals, beautiful journals but then I would never use them because I was too afraid to somehow ruin them with my writing. Somehow I didn't feel worthy of writing in them. I foolishly believed that I would be finally worthy of writing in them when I had something interesting to say, when I actually was living the life of my dreams. They were only journals, but to me they felt like a treasure. They felt like a testament to my worth. And saying it now, saying it today, I realize how foolish it was. But I think a lot of us are guilty of that same mistake. It might not be the journals, it might be, never wearing the clothes that we want because we don't feel beautiful enough for them, or waiting to be the perfect size, the perfect shape before we actually have the courage to wear them. Or maybe it's never signing up for that class because we feel that we need to be serious and we need to use our money diligently instead of actually spending it on what makes us happy. I think one of the biggest reasons why I would let the journals sit on the shelves untouched is because I was waiting for the perfect moment, and somehow I had the impression that my real life will start when everything will fall into place, and until then everything felt like it was on pause. That time is not passing by waiting for me, that opportunities will not pass by because they'll also wait for me, that experiences that I was craving so much will also wait for me, will wait for the day I am finally ready to live them. I was blind by those illusions and I kept waiting, and the years went by and nothing was changing. My journals were accumulating dust and the pages were left empty, and ironically, I also felt empty inside. I had a feeling that something was missing in my life, but I couldn't pinpoint what was the reason, and I kept telling myself that it was because it wasn't the right moment. I was convinced that the void will be filled once I finished high school, but then once high school was done and it was university, I told myself it will actually be filled when I start my adult life and I will actually start working. But then fast forward to me working full-time and being an adult, that void, that feeling of lack only grew stronger, deeper, and bigger. Then I remember I was scrolling on Pinterest. I think it was on Pinterest or Instagram, I don't remember it now, but it was a quote by Christina Rossetti, a quote that I actually had read when I was 17, but this time it struck me even more because it made me realize in hindsight how true it was. And the quote was, "Can anything be sadder than work left unfinished? Yes, work never begun." And I remember that moment, and the same awareness that had struck me when I was 17 struck me again, but this time even stronger, because this saying conveys the meaning that life is not about always completing something or achieving the destination or reaching the final outcome. The most important thing in life is actually doing something, trying. Even if the victory isn't guaranteed, even if it means facing failure, that's the most important thing at the end of the day, is actually starting something and trying as long as you can. Because at the end of the day, life itself is not a product. Life is a gradual, constant becoming. It's always unfolding. And this is the most important thing that we need to understand when we are faced with doubts and faced with hesitation whenever we want to pursue our goals, is that it doesn't really matter whether you succeed or not. Life will still pass you by, so you might as well just try the goals. You might as well just try your dreams. The truth is that there's no perfect time and there's no perfect you, right? You don't need to become perfect to actually start pursuing your dreams or your dream life. You don't need to have achieved a certain accomplishment or some kind of recognition before you actually deem yourself worthy of your dreams and your goals. Start something until everything is perfect and you feel completely ready is like expecting to cross the ocean while actually never leaving the shore. It's funny because we all know that we will all eventually die. That death is the inevitable outcome of every living person. And yet, no matter what we do, unless we discover the secret of immortality anytime soon, which I don't think we will. So the point is that we all know that we're gonna die, but we still want to live. We still make plans. We still hope for tomorrow. We still hope to reach old age. And instead of using that as a fuel for action, unfortunately, what most of us end up doing is that we end up procrastinating on our goals, constantly waiting, being obsessed with an imaginary future, and sacrificing our present day for a day that we will never reach, because every tomorrow becomes just yet another today. I remember when I was younger, I was always looking for the next goal. Finishing high school, then college, then finding work. Always looking at the future, so focused on my future that I was completely blind to my present. I was completely blind to the opportunities and the experiences that were passing me by. And instead of enjoying my youth, I would spend my time worrying about adult life. Now, looking back, I feel sad that my younger self was so narrow-minded, was so focused on one tiny part of her life that she never actually took the time to explore her life fully or lived her life fully, simply because she was blinded by the hope that somehow her life will become better and she will become a better version, and she will become smarter, and she will become more competent, and she will become stronger and more and braver. Those things, they don't happen by accident. You become those things through active decision. You become those things through active dedication. I already spoke about the dangers of hope and how the illusions of hope can make us blind to our reality. So I'm not gonna discuss it here again, but for a very long time I was that eternal child, that blind child that was always hoping for to magically be transported into my magical life. But we need to remind ourselves that we are the authors of our lives and we get to write our own story. And this is such a blessing. And of course, it's a responsibility, but Instead of being daunted by this idea, I think we need to feel liberated, because once you know that your life is a blank canvas, you get to paint it as you please. You get to choose the colors, you get to choose the shapes, you get to choose the tools, and you get to choose the image that you want to create. Your life is a song that only you can sing it. So I think it's important that we sing it loud and proud. Life is our own creation, but we'll let fears and doubts keep us playing small and keep us from taking bold and fearless actions. But ask yourself, what would happen if you dared to dream big, and if you dare to actually live your life boldly and courageously? Whether you're inking your dreams, or you're painting them, or you're building them with your bare hands, at the end of the day, you are creating your own legacy, and you just need to decide what you want the legacy to be. Because taking risks is part of life. We all know that we're going to die, but yet we defy our reality every day by making plans for today, by making plans for tomorrow, by making plans for the next year, and for in 10 years. There is no guarantee that we will even see the end of today, because we never know what's going to happen the next moment. And yet we persist and we persevere. We have full faith in our life. So why not have full faith in our dreams as well? I think it's really sad that we are afraid to pursue our dreams because of fear of failure and all the risks that come with it. But not pursuing those dreams and those goals is technically already a death wish, because it might not be a physical one, but it will be a mental and spiritual one. I think we die internally the day we decide to give up hope on our dreams. And of course, externally, we will go through the motions, and we will do the same habits, and we will have the same routine every day. But then I'm trying to imagine myself on my deathbed, and I wonder how will I feel? Will I feel like the biggest fool ever for actually for giving in to fear, trading my dreams for a more conventionally secured life, and a security that means chaining yourself to maybe a work you never enjoyed, never inspired, they only took your time and energy. In short, your life, because at the end of the day, your life is energy and time, right? So what you dedicate your time and energy to is what your life will amount to. I think at one point in our life, we all find ourselves on a crossroad of where we need to decide where we will go. Sometimes we let ourselves believe that we have made a choice, and it was a choice that we wanted. It was a choice that we didn't settle for. It was a choice driven by logic and reason and being practical. But if it's so practical and seems so intelligent, why does it disappoint us so much? Why is it such a letdown at the end of the day? Because if you always prefer to play safe, never take risks, and never actually face the risk of failure because you wanted to be reasonable about your life, ask yourself, are you actually living, or you are simply a bystander of your own life, simply a passive observer of your life? It's somehow the image that comes to my mind is basically always taking out your journal every morning, but being too afraid to fill out the pages, and then just putting it back on the shelf every night, untouched, unwritten, unfulfilled. And then one day you run out of time, you run out of energy, and you basically have nothing to show for it. You have nothing to show for your life because you have no experiences that you were brave enough to go through. There was no lessons learned because you always played it so safe. There were no risks taken because you always tried to be logical and reasonable and plausible. And because of that, maybe there was no hard-won accomplishments, no enlightening failures that made you realize that only in the process of becoming, only in the process of taking action, do you actually gain something from life. That made you realize that only by giving up something in life, that you gain something back, that you become something more. I think once we change our attitude and we start seeing failures as lessons, as cliche as it sounds, and disappointments as an indication that you actually tried, yes, it might not have turned out the way you wanted it, but at least you were brave enough to try and to go for it. And having the satisfaction of realizing that actually failure didn't kill me, failure didn't destroy me, and it showed you how much you're capable of. And sometimes, more often than not, it is so much more than what we thought possible of ourselves. So I think we underestimate how much we can endure and how much we can withstand because we are so risk averse and we always look, and biologically we're always driven to make choices that will protect us. Whenever I'm faced with doubts and fear, fear of judgment, fear of ridicule, I always tell myself, when I will reach the end of my life, will I be happy with my decision? And also, I'm sure that all the decisions that are made out of fear, I will regret them bitterly, and I will probably be wishing to, go back in time and get the chance to do it all over again. But unfortunately, life doesn't give you second chances. Life, you can never get back the time that you lost, right? Even if you were to spend all the gold in this world or all the wealth in this world, you will never be able to buy even one day of your life. And that's really what made me realize how precious each moment is, and to stop waiting and to start living, truly living. So if there's one thing that I want to share with you today, I think it's start filling your journal with moments that make you proud, with moments that make you fulfilled and that make you happy, so that when you reach the end of your life, you will have a journal filled with stories, with anecdotes, with things that you can share with future generations, wisdom that you can impart to your grandchildren if you have them, or people surrounding you, your loved ones, so that they can learn from your life book as well. Thank you for listening and staying until the end. And wherever you are, please stay safe and stay strong. And most importantly, don't wait for tomorrow to start filling your blank pages. Start by doing it today. Thank you.